What is up, YouTube fam, and welcome to my home. I don't think I've done a home tour yet since I moved into this new place. I promise you I will now that I have this snazzy new camera. And by the way, if you want to learn more about my new setup here, I share a lot about it on my Instagram. So if you don't follow me on Instagram yet, make sure you follow me. I did go live recently just unboxing a lot of the new gear that I bought for my YouTube channel. So definitely check it out. But anyways, what is up, guys? It has been a hot minute since my last video and we are definitely due for an update. All right, so right now I'm trying to figure out where in my home to like sit down and actually talk to you guys because the lighting is not great right now. It is like 4 p.m. because I spent so much time trying to figure out the settings on this dang camera, but I will see you soon. So we had a little oopsie and I gotta charge my camera while filming, so this is the best that we can do. But how cute is this background? I will link where I got this background, but this is the cutest thing ever. I'm obsessed with it. All right, guys, so let's chat. What happened exactly in the last 2 months that I have been away from YouTube? So in November, I was invited to speak at an event. And this event was my first ever in-person speaking event that I've ever done since starting my business. Just for context, I started my business in 2019. That's when I launched it. Then once I actually started to get like recognition and I started becoming a little bit more popular in 2020, I then started to be invited to speaking events, but they were all virtual because of the global pandemic. And in 2021, same thing, but near the end of 2021, so in October, November, that's when I got invited to my very first in-person speaking event. And obviously, speaking virtually and speaking in person are two different things. And so I was super nervous, but not only because of that, I was really nervous because this event just so happened to be Neil Patel and Eric Siu's Growth Accelerator Mastermind event, where everyone at this event is like 7, 8, or 9-figure business owners. And on top of that, just the fact that I had to present in front of Neil freaking Patel, who is someone that I had been looking up to for a really long time, who has 1 million YouTube subscribers, been in the game for so long, and is just a genius. You could feel the amount of imposter syndrome that I had. But I did the damn thing anyways. I did my presentation, absolutely crushed it, and it taught me a really valuable lesson. And I actually share this lesson in a blog post that I wrote over on my website where I recap my 2021 in depth, which, by the way, this podcast or this blog post went viral, which I was totally not expecting. But in my blog post, I learned a really valuable lesson, and that is I was invited for a reason, and I really need to work on not selling myself short, because leading up to the event, I just kept self-deprecating and I just kept thinking badly about myself, and I just was so annoying with my lack of confidence that it was really irritating. This event has just caused a lot of anxiety for me, specifically performance anxiety. And when I actually pull up the list of the other speakers, I am straight up intimidated. Like, I literally was like, I feel like I should be on the other side. Like, I don't even think I should be a speaker. And so I'm just sharing this moment with you because obviously performance anxiety happens at any level, and I'm feeling it right now. I'm gonna show you a glimpse of the speakers and you're gonna see what I mean. This guy, Lloyd, who has literally bootstrapped to 8 figures and has just been like growing like crazy. He's gonna be speaking. Obviously there's me, little Vanessa, doing social media growth. And then there's Patrick from Profitwell, Greg at Late Checkout, and then there's Zach Benson and Cody, who are the 2 female speakers, at least that I see on this slide deck. And then there's Lynn Dye, who's gonna talk about NFTs. Like, oh my gosh, like I'm gonna have to research what NFTs are tonight before I even go to this event because I want to be at this level. Like, it's crazy. And you know, no surprise why I have performance anxiety. And so the fact that I actually got a text from Eric saying that my presentation was amazing and that I had a lot of great feedback from it, and also getting recognition from Neil Patel himself, and him even telling me I learned a lot and I learned a few things that I didn't even know about that I'm gonna bring back to my team, was like mind-blowing to me, and it really taught me a valuable lesson. But nonetheless, that happened in November, and it was the highlight of definitely my November. Then shortly after, I went to Tony Robbins. I decided to buy a ticket to the Unleash the Power Within event, and that event also changed the way that I thought about life in general. I went into the event really valuing like achievement, success, money, and all these different things, and I left the event really re-looking at all my values, and now I'm someone that really values like joy, contribution, appreciation, love, not necessarily all those material things that I valued before. Not only this, during this event, it really challenged my beliefs on, my relationships, my business, my personal life, just all the things. And it made me confront a lot of things that I was just kind of suppressing and I didn't even realize. And so that led to obviously a lot of tears and heartache and breakthroughs. And it was just also a mind-blowing experience. I love the experience so much that I actually ended up buying a ticket to Date with Destiny, which is Tony Robbins' like next level event. And these tickets are not cheap. But anyways, I did the Tony Robbins event, and right after that, I came back and I did a launch. So I did my Black Friday launch for Boss Graham Academy. That launch did not hit our goals, but learned a lot. If you were there to witness it, I did 4 live trainings back to back, really teaching people about niche content, selling, just all the things, mindset, and it was really well received. Even though we didn't hit our launch goal, it did teach me a lot and it really showed me what needed to be improved when it came to the back end of my business. But anyways, I did the launch, and then right after that, I had to make some really, really rough changes to my team and to the back end of my business. And again, if you read my blog post, I go way more in depth. This is like the Cliffs Notes of the Cliffs Notes of the Cliffs Notes version of the last 2 months that I've been through. But basically, when I went to the Neil Patel event and when I also did the Tony Robbins event, it really opened my eyes to what I needed to change within my company. And so when I came back, I ended up executing on all those changes, namely letting some people go. I had some employees resign. I had to let go a lot of agencies. I just kind of redid the whole thing, and I'm still in the process of redoing a lot of things right now. But basically, the last 2 months have just been back to back, back to back, back to back, kind of hectic. Oh, and not to mention, I also got COVID, and I found out that I was positive on Christmas Eve. So with all the hecticness, I was so looking forward to seeing my family, my friends, everyone. But because I was positive for COVID, I literally had to cancel everything. And so I ended up quarantining. I'm actually still kind of quarantining right now. I ended up self-isolating, binge watching Harry Potter, and I just stayed home and worked. And that was my Christmas, my New Year's, and my holiday, basically. So that also happened. All right, so now that you guys are all caught up, let's talk about how 2021 went for me. But before I do that, let's actually rewind and talk about 2019 and 2020. So as you guys might know or maybe not know, 2019 was when I officially launched my business and I launched my services with a price tag out into the world. And that first year I did $500,000, which was the most money that I had ever seen in my entire life. For context and for reference, in 2019, when I wanted to launch my business, my intention was always just to do like 40K because I felt like, you know what, that is like a reasonable goal. I would love to do at least like the average salary of someone that lives in Vancouver, BC, which is where I live. And so that was the goal that I set. And so for me to see $500,000 compared to $40,000 was just mind-blowing. And so obviously that boosted my confidence a lot. Then moving into 2020, at the time, I don't think I really even set a goal. I don't remember, but I just didn't have a lot of expectations for 2020. But what ended up happening was I ended up 4xing my business. So I went from $500,000 to ending the year at $2.5 million. So imagine how I felt, the second year of business, making that much money and also being like 26 years old. That was just seriously quantum leaping. And so going into 2021, that's when I was like, okay, I'm gonna set a goal because I am invincible and it's only gonna go up from here. So obviously, if I did $500,000 in my first year, $2.5 million in my second year, then I must be doing $4 million in my third year. So that was the goal that I set for 2021, thinking with absolute certainty that this was going to happen. And not only this, in the online space, depending on, what journey you're at, you might be in a stage where I was, where you're just following so many incredible online business people and you're seeing year over year, just like how I did, go from 0 to $500,000 to $2.5 million to $5 million and like all these incredible results on social media that people are sharing. And so that obviously is like gassing you up and you're like, okay, well, if they're doing it and they are doing similar things that I want to do, then that must happen for me too. And so it made me set a really unrealistic expectation on what growth should look like for an online online business. And so that is the context that I will give you. Now, what ended up happening is by the end of 2021, I didn't hit my goal at all. I ended the year at 2.7 million, which is still an incredible result. Don't get me wrong. And I wrote this in my blog post. And in my blog post, I actually outline every single month how much revenue I made, what my expenses are, and I also compared it to last year. What kind of like broke me down the most was the fact that midway through 2021, I saw my revenue plateauing. And I saw my revenue just kind of maintaining the same amount. And so at the time, I'm like, okay, well, if I'm supposed to do this goal that I set, which was $4 million, it's not trending that way at all. And, the thing that you should know about whenever you see anything plateauing, whether that is your social media, your business, your whatever else, when you see something plateauing and you don't take action on it, or you don't fix it, or you don't address it, eventually that plateau begins to decline. And that is what I saw within my business. After a few months of just plateauing and just maintaining the same, which was not what I was expecting, eventually I started to hit a point where I actually started doing less than I did the month before. So every single month I was doing less and less. And when I compared it to the year prior in 2020, I was doing significantly less. And there were a few months in my 2021 year where I had negative profits. And that was when my mental health took a really bad toll. I started self-sabotaging and freaking out even more. Not to mention, I bought this beautiful house. I also bought a beautiful car. And so with everything, I just felt a lot of pressure and I was just constantly felt like I couldn't breathe, basically. One thing I think is important to say while I'm talking about this story is that I know many of you guys might look at this and say, you are so ungrateful. You made multiple millions of dollars while other people make a lot less. You should be just absolutely grateful for your results and just all those things. And I completely acknowledge that. I think that the more money you make, the more comfortable you become. And I think that you should be grateful for that comfort that you've gotten. At the same time, I think that a lot of people don't realize that when you build a business, at first, you're kind of building it to fund your lifestyle. A lot of us, when we build our businesses, we want to quit our jobs, buy nice things, retire our family, a lot of things that are personal. But if you actually want to grow your business and you want to make the money that you want to make, you want to build a multiple $1,000,000 business or whatever else, you're going to have to start investing in that. And in order to get to that level, you're going to need to hire employees, staff, put people on payroll, do all these projects in order to grow and scale your actual company. It's no longer a lifestyle business, it becomes a company, a real well-oiled machine, especially if you have the goals that you have. In business, in order to make more profit, you either have to make more revenue or you have to decrease your expenses. But the thing is that when you actually have a company, your expenses become other people's salaries. It becomes other people's way of making a living. And that's the last thing that you want to cut. So obviously you're thinking about all the different ways to grow your revenue. And in my case, last year, I feel like I threw so much energy into growing my top line revenue. I did Facebook ads, YouTube ads. I, hired more people. I just felt like I did all of the actions. And I think that anyone who was on my team or is on my team can attest to the fact that we were slammed with projects. But the problem was that no matter how many projects we did, no matter how much, effort and attempts that we threw at the business in order to make more money, nothing was really moving the needle for us. And I think that that was what was even more frustrating, not just for me, but probably for my team too, right? Because if we don't make the money, they don't get their bonuses. And so I think that a lot of people who follow me on YouTube don't realize the magnitude and the responsibility that it actually takes to grow and scale a business. And this is a part of a learning lesson that I shared in the blog post that I highly recommend that you guys read up on. Just wanted to kind of put that out there because I do get the sense that people might criticize me for saying, you should be grateful. At the same time, I think that those same people don't realize what the real reality is of actually running a business. And I think that if you read my blog post, you might have more empathy and you might be able to see even more of the responsibilities of running a business and the little intricacies that happen behind the scenes. So that being said, let me share the top 3 lessons that I want you guys to walk away with, and I certainly am walking away with as we are now in 2022. And the first one is that building a business and growing a business carry 2 very different energies. There's this Instagram post that Tyler McCall wrote, and I want to read the caption for you because it really hit home for me. This is also something that I shared in my blog post. He writes, I truly believe that the never-ending pursuit of growth in our businesses is leaving us depressed, burnt out, overwhelmed, and disappointed. It's toxic, it's dangerous, and it's unrealistic. When did growing year over year become the norm? Why do we expect to always have a better month next month than we had last month? A better year next year than we had last year? What kind of toxic culture have we created in the online business world where we expect small businesses with tiny teams and no outside funding or access to debt or capital to increase revenue by double digits every single year, or else be written off as failing or fledging? This post hit so hard for me because I do feel like the energy behind growing a business has so much pressure versus the energy of building a business. When you're building a business, when I hear that, it makes me feel like it's okay to slow down and it's okay to take a step back because you are building something for the long term. Versus when you're thinking about growing constantly, it creates unhealthy levels of achievement, unhealthy expectations, and when you're not growing, you're gonna assume that you're not doing the right thing. And if you're watching this, regardless if you have a business or not, I think a lot of this also applies to social media. A lot of us, we focus on growing our YouTube channels, growing our Instagram accounts, instead of the mindset of I am building something. I am building something that's going to help so many people, and building something great takes time. It takes a lot of patience. It takes a lot of energy and investment. And it takes a lot of maybe scaling back in order to speed up. And so I really loved the way that he kind of encapsulated this feeling of so many of us putting pressure on ourselves, especially during this time of year when we start the new year, of constantly wanting to grow and grow and grow without realizing that anything great takes time to actually build. With that being said, I really want to talk about the second lesson, and this lesson I actually didn't share in my blog post. So this is a YouTube fam exclusive, and that is growing and scaling a business is like a Christmas tree. And I really want to thank my good friend George Bryant, because as I was going through this year of really trying to figure out what the heck am I doing wrong, what can I improve, what can I do better, I really hopped on a lot of calls with different entrepreneurs just to get a sense of where my blind spots are. And when I hopped on a call with my friend George, who is an incredibly successful entrepreneur, he mentioned this analogy that really stuck with me. And it's an analogy that I think I will think about forever. And I really want to share it with you guys. And that is, growing and scaling a business is like a Christmas tree. And what he means by this is when you think about a Christmas tree, the base is going to be really, really wide. Sometimes we think that we need to add more products, more services, more marketing, more social media, more staff, more everything, thinking that this is going to grow our Christmas tree. And for a while, it will grow your Christmas tree this way because we're going really wide. But in order for you to actually move up a level, you need to actually start trimming things down and simplifying your processes, or even redoing a lot of the things that actually made you once successful. Then once you do that, you now create the space to go wide again and actually build on top of that foundation. But again, with the same problem, you're not going to be able to move another level up unless you trim down once more. And so eventually what your business is, it's going to look like a Christmas tree. Now at every level that you level up, you are going to need to redo a lot of things, remove a lot of things that once worked for your business or for yourself. But every time you level up, your foundations become stronger and stronger. And as a business owner, you become wiser and wiser. And so even though it's very painful and it seems counterintuitive to trim down, that step is actually necessary in order for you to move up all the different levels. And so you will always be smarter than you ever were before, but just know that just widening things and adding more things to your business, adding more things to your plate is never going to be the solution of you actually scaling up. And so this really hit home for me because like I said earlier on in this video, what myself and my team were doing, we kept throwing more things at the business, more projects, more lead magnets, more content, more staff, more all of these things, but we didn't necessarily cut back and we didn't necessarily stop and relook at what needed to be truly fixed. We just kept adding more projects, and the more projects that we added, the slower that we became. But as a business owner, at the time, I couldn't see what specifically needed to be cut. And this is something that I mentioned in my blog post, and that is when you have a business, you have to realize that your business is its own separate entity, and it's going to require a lot of things from you that conflict with your personal preferences or what you're comfortable with. So for example, in my business, I didn't realize that I had outgrown some team members. I didn't realize that I actually needed more experienced staff on my team. team, because what was happening was within my core team, I was kind of the most experienced person. And with my knowledge, I could only bring our business to the $2 to $3 million mark. But if my goal was to get us to 5 million, 10 million, whatever else, then I would need more support, more guidance outside of what I already know. But that conflicted with my personal preferences, because who wants to let people go? Nobody wants to do that. Nobody wants to tell someone else that, hey, unfortunately, we are no longer needing this position. Like, that's not something that anyone is ever equipped or wants to do. However, that is what oftentimes your business is going to require. And this is a very specific example because this is what happened to me. But there are so many other examples that might be relevant to you. It could mean outgrowing social media platforms. It could also mean outgrowing a specific client that you used to be serving. It could mean outgrowing a certain pricing structure that you used to have and you needing to actually level up and restructuring all of your products, all of your services, relooking at your pricing, relooking at your ideal clients, relooking at your content, doing a big pivot. A lot of times it's really uncomfortable. But when you think about the Christmas tree analogy, in order for you to actually move up, you are going to need to make those changes. And a lot of times it's about cutting things down, removing things, and then giving yourself that space so that you can restructure and grow again. And once you grow again, you're going to realize that you are going to outgrow a lot of the things that used to work, and then you're going to have to trim down again and do the whole process all over again and again and again. Take a shot every time I say again. But the idea is that everything that you've ever known about your business is always going to change, and you're always going to need to evolve, because if you stay in the same place, if you stay with the same people, the same processes, the same content, the same strategy, you are going to end up like how I ended up in 2021 and plateau. And if you don't fix and address what needs to be addressed and what your business requires you to do, you're going to not just plateau and stay there, your business and your content, your social media, whatever else is going to eventually decline. And so I think that understanding this Christmas tree analogy just really hit home for me, and I'm sharing this with you guys hoping that it's going to hit home for you too. Now, the third lesson that I want to share with you, and this is something that I shared on the blog post, and a lot of you guys on Instagram actually reshared it to your stories, which tells me that this hit home for many of you, and that is understanding the difference between a lifestyle business and a growth business. So when we think about a lifestyle business, it basically means that you want to get as much profit as you can from your business so that you can fund your lifestyle. Versus a growth business, this is the type of business where you are going to sacrifice a lot of your profits in order to continue growing and scaling. And a really extreme example that I shared in my blog post is companies like Amazon. Amazon, for many, many years, they ran at zero profit in order to fuel growth. And how I know this is from my friend Eric's video, which I'll link right here, where he talks about that.
When you think about Jeff Bezos, when he first started Amazon, for the longest time, they didn't have profits and everyone was laughing at them, right? And I always thought that intuitively it made sense. And so when I took over my agency, Single Grain, we continually plowed everything back into the company. And some years we try to go zero, we go negative, right? But the whole idea here is that you're creating jobs for the economy. Okay, you're paying the payroll taxes. Okay, you're paying your fair share. And on profits, you got to pay the government more too. But if you're constantly putting back into the business and enterprise value of the company is growing, which one would you rather have?
He talks about the businesses that actually go zero profit for year after year after year, because all of the money that they're making is going towards actually growing their business. And that's how they get 10x, 20x, 30x growth year over year, because they're making those sacrifices. And I think a really big learning lesson for me in 2021, which was causing so much conflict within myself, was that I was operating like a lifestyle business and I saw profit as a vanity metric. So that's why it messed up my mental health so much, because I was like, I'm not making 60, 70% profit like I was before. I'm making 50% profit, 40% profit. And now I feel like I suck as a human being because I'm not being as profitable as I want to be. At the same time, my vision and my expectations for my business was that of a growth business, right? I wanted to expand the team. I wanted to contribute more. I wanted to increase reach. I wanted to work with more clients. I wanted to to enroll more people. I wanted to offer amazing bonuses and incentives for my team members, amazing benefits, all these different things that are in alignment with what a growth business does. However, I was just seeing profit as a vanity metric, and so it caused a lot of pain for myself, and it caused a lot of unnecessary stress because I didn't know the difference. And like I said in my blog post, how you want to operate your business, there is no right or wrong. A lot of people, they're going to want to run a lifestyle business. A lot of people want to run a growth business. But I think what's important is understanding what you want and having realistic expectations around that. So if you're like me and you realize you actually want to run a growth business, you need to let go of the expectation that you're going to have 50 to 60 to 70% profit like all the other lifestyle businesses that you see on Instagram or on YouTube or whatever else. Versus if you already know that a lifestyle business is what you want and you just want a business that funds your dream lifestyle, then you have to lower your expectations in terms of how far you can take your business in terms of growth. You can't tell yourself, I want to build a $5 million business, but also maintain 80% profit. That is just so incongruent and doesn't make sense. And I think that this was the light bulb moment for me, especially heading into 2022, is realizing that my intention with my business is to grow and scale it because, and I said this in my blog post, I'm at a place where I have achieved so many of my personal needs. I bought a house, I bought a car, I bought all these handbags, everything that the 2018 Vanessa who quit her job and started this YouTube channel was dreaming of, and was a really big reason why I started the business, was because I was in so much freaking pain. But now I'm comfortable, I'm happy, I'm grateful, I have all these things around me to the point where I actually feel empty because I'm like, what else am I gonna fill this void with? And I realized that in order to fill this void, one thing, I have to be present and I have to find joy in the everyday things, whether it's up or down, and just being in the moment, but also realizing that I'm at a place where I really want to contribute back to my team, and where I win, they win. I want to contribute back to you guys. I want to build a business that actually helps people. And in order for me to help more people, if that's my mission, if my mission is to help millions and millions of people, unlock their potential, go from being a content creator to being a CEO and actually being able to monetize their genius the same way that I have for myself, then that's going to require a lot of investment. It's going to require sacrificing some profit in order to meet my mission. And again, if you read my blog post, I talk about the importance of having a mission and why without a mission, it's going to be really easy to burn out in business and really lose a sense of purpose, especially once you acquire a lot of the personal things. If you think about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, it's steps to actually self-actualization. You realize you need to be safe. You realize you need to have the bare basics. Then you realize that you want status and you want all these things. But once you achieve everything, you then start looking at, what is my actual purpose in life? How can I actually give back? Now, obviously, if you're watching this video, you might not be at a place, and that's okay. I think you need to be honest with yourself on that. At the same time, when you are at this place, you have to realize, do you want a lifestyle business or a growth business? And that's really going to dictate the action that you take moving forward. And I think that again, in 2021, I didn't realize the distinction, and therefore I had a lot of conflicts, and I robbed myself of a lot of happiness. Because if you actually look at my blog post, I was profitable for a lot of months. There were some months where I wasn't, and I wasn't meeting my own expectations. But if you actually look at the balance sheet, I had a profitable year. It was still a really great year. But my mind wouldn't let me see that because I had so many conflicting beliefs and I had so many conflicting desires. I wanted a lifestyle business, but I also wanted a growth business, and it just was not mixing together. And I really want to share that with you because I think a lot of us, we don't realize this. And it took me 3 years to realize it. And through the process of writing this blog post, I just realized that I feel like I packed 10 years worth of business experience in the last 3. When I started my business, I didn't expect it to grow this fast. It kind of fell on top of me, and I'm so grateful, I'm so lucky. And thanks to me being an opportunist, thanks to me being proactive, I took the necessary steps to grow it. But now that I'm at a place, I'm like, oh my gosh, now I have this multi-million-dollar business with all these people on payroll and all these responsibilities. That's a lot on a person who just wanted to do this for fun and just wanted to quit their job and just live a decent lifestyle. Now it's really hitting me, and I think that's kind of a reflection of what my year was like in 2021 and why it was so hard for me mentally, even though there were so many beautiful things around me and so many things that I achieved. I got featured on Forbes, bought a house, bought a car, got all these things, but I was still struggling a lot because I wasn't used to having so much responsibility. And again, there was just so many conflicts when it came to that. Alright, so it turns out that I completely forgot to film an outro for the video, but if you got this far, thank you so much for tuning in. Comment below and let me know which lesson resonated with you the most. I would love to know. And also, if you're someone who's interested in knowing more candid lessons from me, really learning from my mistakes, and just me sharing more stories very similar to the ones that I shared in this video or also in this blog post, then make sure you hit the link in the description box or in the comment section below, because I am launching the Confessions of a Content Creator to CEO newsletter, where every single Monday, I'm going to share with you guys some stories, lessons, and advice that I have specifically catered to those of you who are content creators and business owners. I find that being a business owner is already hard enough, but when you are in the unique position where you're also creating content, there are a whole set of other challenges, a whole set of other expectations and requirements in order to be quote unquote successful, which puts a lot of pressure on us. And I really want to share all those lessons that I've learned in that perspective. So if you identify as a content creator and a business owner online, then make sure you hit the link in the description box or in the comment section below. I send an email every single Monday, and I promise I will not be wasting your time. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for tuning in and just seeing a glimpse of my life a little bit here. But I'll see you in the next video. I love you guys and take care. Bye, guys.